Welcome to The Corona Shift. I'm your host, Alice Rose, and today we're going back into the archives and digging up some interviews that inspired this podcast. So when we first went into quarantine, I pitched an article to CBC about how the shift is affecting Canadian comedians and performance artists. And although the article was commissioned, it was never published. Don't worry, I still got paid. Anyways, so I did a bunch of interviews for the article that really shaped and impacted how I approach content creation in the current climate. And I started to feel like it was important to share them, especially now that quarantine's kind of dragging on and we're all like, how are we going to make money? So for the next few weeks, I'll be releasing these interviews as part of the show. I'll be taking this time both to support and give space to the Black community, and also to rethink the podcast to make it better and more relevant to the current social climate. Until then, please enjoy these wonderfully insightful interviews from the archives. If you're listening to the audio version of this show, you can always find the video versions on the Comic Sense Productions YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. And today we have an interview with the incredible Courtney Gilmour. We talk about the cancellation of her one-woman show, congratulations, her quarantine project, ISO Late Night with Dan Curtis Thompson, and general life and quarantine stuff. I hope you enjoy this interview. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, keeping nice and cozy at home.
Yeah?
Yeah, how about you?
I'm doing okay. I've been working from home for 3 weeks now. So I lost my day job about 3 weeks ago. So I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And other than like not being able to find stage time and like get up and get that gratification, it's been good. I'm doing well, taking on a bunch of new projects and trying to keep busy, still keep office hours 9 to 5. And
Oh, that's good.
yeah. But it's nice to like have the time to like cook a real meal every day and not have to commute or wear a bra. Like it's all great.
The bra thing is amazing for sure. Really loving that.
It's so nice. Yeah. So that was my first question. Just how are you doing? Like how is this affecting you and things like that? All right, but you seem doing well.
I guess we're all just kind of taking it like a day at a time. The only difference, like to me, I want to like say this in the right way because I'm like, obviously this is not a good thing, but I think we're all kind of just trying to find like good in it or coming from it because that's, all we can do right now is try to make the best of being at home all the time. But I also just I have worked from home primarily. I think all of my adult life, like even before being a comedian, I worked at home for like 8 years. And then being full-time comedian, I only work at night anyways. And I love being alone. I think too much. Like, I think that, like, I have a problem. Like, I really love being alone. And I just find that I kind of thrive in that, like, self-isolated environment anyways. And so, like, I'm doing pretty good. Like, the only difference is now we're in, like, a unified state of, constantly checking the news and trying to figure out, like, how long this has to be in effect for everybody all at the same time. But I mean, all things considered, like I made a really good dinner last night. I'm getting a lot of stuff done. So far, like 24/7 quarantine, never been busier. Never been busier. Just like constantly things to do. I think also for like those of us who are, I know a lot of the introverts are like speaking out like, oh, like this is my lifestyle anyway. But there's like something like rebellious, I feel, in all of us where like when you have a rule that you have to stay put, you just kind of want to, I don't know, it's been like stirring some kind of like productive Kickstarter mode inside of me where I just feel like I need to do everything now. Like even when I have the impulse to be lazy, I'm like, no, I gotta go do stuff. I need to make things. I need to, you know. So yeah, I'm trying to find a balance there.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's like when you were a kid and you were sitting in your room playing video games all day, all weekend, and you're totally okay with that. But as soon as you're grounded, you're like,
yeah,
I have so many
totally.
friends and I have so much to do. Like
I know.
it just puts it
Exactly.
in, and we're grounded now. So we want to act out and we want to rebel and do things
Yes.
that, like, I'm very much the same thing. I'm a very introverted person. Every time I'm out, whether it's doing a show or out with friends, I'm just like, when can I go back home and just be chill? Uh,
Yeah.
I have my girlfriend, I have my dog, I have my food, I have good coffee. I don't need anything else. So yeah, this has caused me to, like, I am comfortable and I'm doing well in this environment, but still there's that drive to, like, we don't have that sense of productivity that we usually have in our everyday life when we're out going to shows and producing and networking, that we feel that drive to, like, we're just sitting, we're supposed to sit at home all day,
Yeah.
but we still need to find ways to make that productive. So
For
it's
sure.
really interesting. Yeah.
There's like a time limit on it, you know. Right now it's like on, we don't know what that is, but we know at some point it's going to end. So I think there is like a little bit of extra fire under our butts that we're like, okay, when we come out of this, might as well have something to show for it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
a little carpe diem attitude. For
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
For sure. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about your career? So, like, what, I know you're a full-time comic, you're a pro comic, and that's your one thing, but can you give me a better insight onto, like, your career as a whole?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I'm a full-time comedian, but like even in that in and of itself means a lot of different things because yeah, I typically do stand up every night, but that, you know, being a performance artist in this city also requires many different hats in different realms, like writing or just being involved with certain comedy adjacent projects. And so that's what I mean. I've been doing stand up for about 8 years now, but this year has seen me do a lot more writing and projects on the side. Which now that we're in this very unique time, you know, and they're all canceled, you know, like I have a one woman show that I did at Toronto Fringe last summer, and
Mhm.
this year in stand up had been a little bit lighter on like festivals or TV appearances. Like you go up and down with what you're doing in stand up, and this year was going to be like my year to take that one woman show on the road and tour it around a bit. So I mean, that was a big project that I had been working on this year, taking that to England in May, the Brighton Fringe Festival, which is now canceled or slash postponed.
Postponed,
So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like right now, it's been really interesting to think about my career because I'm like, I have no foreseeable future that I can quantify in career metrics. Like I don't know. Like I everything is on hold. Like I had just also signed on for a comedy bar sponsored stand-up comedy class produced at Stacked Market,
Yeah.
and that was set to start like in a couple weeks. That I believe, I mean, obviously that's, you know, on the brakes are on that for as well.
Mhm.
So there's just been a lot of stuff that's just like very unknown right now. So um, it's been interesting to think about what my career is going to look like this year. Things that have to be moved around. You know, typically we do shows every night, and then we sort of work towards festival appearances or TV appearances or whatever else. And that's what the past few years has been. And now I don't know. I mean,
Right. And now the appearances have disappeared. We have really nothing to work towards. Yeah.
well, at least it's
Um,
but yeah.
but but comedians are generally very resilient, creative, and resourceful. Like you mentioned, it's not just going out and performing. You have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to be a self-promoter, a self-producer, you have to be a marketer, all of these things. So has this experience changed the way you approach your art? And if so, how? So for instance, are you looking at new mediums, or how are you finding ways to keep busy or find projects that are still relevant in
Yeah.
the absence of these performances?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I truly believe that this is going to, I mean, at the very least, it's turning everything upside down, and we're being forced to put out content in a different way. Like, we already use the internet all the time, but I don't think we realized just how much was available to us until now, you know. Um, so yeah, I am definitely looking at different ways of putting out content, different creative ways. Um, I'm trying to keep myself busy with writing. I have a couple of shows that have already been in the works from before, like with CBC, that I'm working on. And my one woman show, as I mentioned before,
Mhm.
that's in the works to be a published book. So I have lots of time to be working on that draft for the book. So that's exciting. And then yeah, in this like kind of nebulous time where we don't know what's going on, I've also been doing live streaming, which I'd never done that before. I feel way more like present on the internet in a very different way. Like, usually it's just words with me. Like, I'm not big on like video and stuff like that, or like going live. Like, to me, that was like a little bit scary, to be honest, just because I know that sounds like strange, just because obviously I'm in front of people all the time, but it's so um I'm a very written comic, and so everything is very curated. Like, I have my set, I know what I'm going to say, and then I'm going to go on stage and I'm going to say it. And then the quarantine happened, and now it's like, let's put out, a fun, silly late night talk show live stream, which is what I'm doing with another.
Yeah, which I love. It's so cool. And you're doing that with
Which is
Dan
so
Curtis
fun.
Thompson?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's a live stream, and we're just doing whatever the hell we want. It's just sort of like, we're taking it, week by week. All the quarantine stuff keeps, we get more, different news about what's happening and how much longer this is going to be in effect. And so we're trying to like make it just a fun little hour of comedy to distract people and have some silly, fun times. And yeah, keep ourselves productive. It's really helping us use our imaginations. Like, we're just kind of coming up with like little segments and bits and jokes, and it's really just fun. And it's so dumb, which is, I just love dumb comedy because it lets you be goofy and just explore your silliest ideas. And
Yeah.
sometimes I don't let myself do that in my own writing, and so this has been really good for that.
It's a lot more spur of the moment,
Yeah.
improvise, just get up there unscripted and see what happens. And yeah, so it sounds like this is helping you sort of push your boundaries a little bit.
Totally, totally. I think it's helping me become more comfortable in different like live formats and different digital settings. Like, that's always the goal, is to push yourself to do new challenges. So yeah, it's pushing me in my writing, but also just in my performance. Like, can I just go live in front of a bunch of people and just like say some silly things and do some, we had like a taste test challenge the other day where we had Coke versus Pepsi, but we had the viewers decide which one's which just by watching the
I love that. Yeah.
stuff like that. It's just fun, So yeah.
No, it's really great. And I'm finding that as well. Like, I definitely agree, where I was terrified to put myself on video. And the first real video that I put on Facebook was to talk about postponing my showcase. Um,
Right.
just because I wanted it to come personally from the heart. And that was a really big challenge to get over that. And then I like live stream my work day, and I'd go on Instagram Live while I walk my dog and just do really silly things. And like, I have a lot of dysphoria around my voice and my appearance and things like that. So it's really difficult for me. I was afraid to answer the phone before, and now I'm pushing myself to do like, even this Zoom chat is something that I'm kind of overcoming. So it's great. Like, it's helping us all sort of push our boundaries. Next question. Do you think there's merit in continuing these efforts? Like, once things go back to normal, do you think we're going to keep doing things like the live stream show with Dan, or?
Yeah, that's a good question, because like we don't know what things are going to look like post quarantine. Like, it's going to be like, I mean, I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more incremental than just like, bam, everything is, I don't know that anything is actually going to be, not to sound dramatic, but like completely the way it was before. Like, obviously this is really shaking things up.
Of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it will set a new tone for the direction comedy is going in. I think people will feel more encouraged to try different things and to be more creative. I would kind of like to do more live stream stuff, more impromptu, fun comedy things. Yeah, I hope so. I think that would be good for me personally, and also just collectively for all of us. I think that it's been really cool to see just people expand their resources, get really crafty, really resourceful, and really imaginative, which with like, how funny can I be on, with like within a certain kind of like set of parameters, like within my own home, you know? It's really fun, and I think it's going to change the face of comedy for sure, which is so interesting because we already thought that the internet was changing the face of comedy as it was before, and now that we're all like self-isolated, it's like it's taking even more leaps and bounds there.
Yeah, I know. I love how a lot of comics just before this, I know Robert Watson had a sort of bigger YouTube celebrity on one of his shows, and every time a producer books a YouTube person or a podcaster, all of the comics have something to say, like, oh, they're not real comics because they're not performing in front of an audience and they're not doing it live. But like, I'm seeing a lot of those same people jumping on YouTube and jumping on Instagram Live and doing it now.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to see that shift of how we're stepping in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're seeing how other people approach comedy in different mediums. And I think it's really exciting. And it sounds like you think it's really exciting as well.
I think it is. I think it's something that's good, that I think it's going to be a little bit more yeah, I think it's some good that's coming out of all of this, is just having that that kick in the butt to get these creative projects going, because there's literally nothing else to do. So I think it's going to be a good thing for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Two more questions, kind of soundbitey questions. What's your biggest takeaway from this experience so far?
Oh man, my biggest takeaway. That's a it's really interesting to think about, like one thing that we were kind of joking about on the, like, for like the live stream, something that we've been thinking about is like we kind of miss things being canceled for other reasons. Like, this is like the only reason, this is like the main reason, COVID is like the main reason why anything is being canceled now. But like, for people who love, as much as comedians love performing, we also love when shows get canceled, like secretly, because we like to like retreat into ourselves, and like we like an excuse to stay home and do whatever. But I think my biggest takeaway from this is people are a lot more creative than they think, and it's actually been really interesting to see how people schedule their day. How I have scheduled my day has been different, just in terms of like like with limited resources, I have to kind of split my day into like, okay, I want to exercise, but I can only do it at home. So how am I going to do it? I'm going to bring out my yoga mat and I'm going to do yoga. Or I feel like I've spent a little bit less time on social media than I was before. Even though I have more access to it, more time to have access to it, I feel that being alone or just like connecting, using my time to really connect in meaningful ways has been way more important to me the past couple of weeks than just mindlessly scrolling. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I think that people are really considering what their mental health looks like when there's literally nothing else beyond their own like houses and apartments to keep them like sane or not sane.
Right.
So that's been interesting, you know, planning like FaceTime dance parties or like scheduling Zoom meetings. Like we've had we have like remote special guests on the live stream, and some of them have had to like cancel or not come because they're having FaceTime dinner with their family or whatever, you know? Like it's really interesting to see that we're still able to prioritize meaningful things even in the face of something so limiting like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sort of living life in a vacuum in isolation. We tend to try to seek out those things we've taken for granted in the past.
Exactly. For sure.
Very last question, probably the most important one. How can your audiences best support you during this difficult time? What can audiences, what can the general public do to support local performers and local comedians?
Good question. I think that the best way to support local, I mean, the same way that we are being encouraged to support local businesses, like, you know, if you need to get food or you need to get something outside of your house to support a local business, I think that it's important also to check out local entertainment, you know, watch comedy specials that are on Crave or Netflix, check out the online activity that your local performers are putting on, realize that we are completely out of work in terms of the conventional work that we have been given this whole time. You know, we're just sort of trying to make ends meet, but also trying to keep ourselves distracted and you know, bring a little bit of light into the world. You know, I know that we do this to make a living, but you know, like the live stream that we're doing, we're also just kind of doing it for us. Like it's keeping us busy and it's keeping us active and having fun, and we want other people to feel like they're not just inundated with 24/7 news cycle. Like you have a chance to watch something, you might as well invest in, you know, a friend you have that's a performer. So check out all their work, check out the projects now that you have the time. For anyone who, you know, runs into their comedian friend on the street and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't catch your show. I'll catch it next time." Like this is the time. You're at home, catch our shows on Instagram, that kind of thing. You know, like support people as much as you can that way.
Great, that's wonderful. Oh, you were so informative and insightful. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, of course. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed my little chat with Courtney Gilmour and you're a little inspired to do some fun stuff online. Be sure to check us out on YouTube and our website, comicsansproductions.ca. We're going to have all our fun stuff on that website, so check it out. Next week, I'm going to be giving you my interview with Sandra Battellini, who is the co-founder and representative of Canadian Association of Stand-Up Comedians. So you're not going to want to miss that one. Until then, stay safe, wash your hands, and don't do anything stupid.